Buongiorno, everyone. Today we're making a dish that is both traditional and a little different. Pesto ravioli with bechamel sauce. It's a true Mediterranean creation. Ravioli, an Italian classic, combined with creamy bechamel, a French touch. You'll also notice the striking aroma of pesto sauce, made from basil picked from my garden, that runs through the whole dish. Let's begin right away with the dough. This is the most important part of ravioli, and luckily it's very simple. Just flour, eggs, and a bit of patience. A well-kneaded dough gives the ravioli its elasticity and that soft texture when you bite into it. For us Turks, it actually feels quite familiar, very much like the dough we use for erishta. The beauty of it is that your own hands and effort truly become part of the dish. In Italy, ravioli isn't just pasta, and each region still has its own traditional filling, while in Emilia-Romagna, they're often rich with meats and Parmigiano. In Tuscany, potato-filled ravioli is common. Down in coastal towns, they're lighter, filled with herbs and seafoods. To make our filling, we start by gently sautéing finely chopped onions in good olive oil. I like to add plenty of freshly ground black pepper. It almost feels like I'm making a carbonara. Once the onions begin to soften and turn golden, we add in some garlic for that extra depth of flavor. That's really all it. After the onions are cooked, I mix them together with our cheese and finely chopped parsley. Now let's bring our filling together. Fresh cheese, goat cheese and mozzarella. I love mixing different cheeses and adding spices to create unique flavors. Then I add in the sautéed onions and freshly chopped parsley. I mix them well until they become creamy and smooth, and give it all one last mix. After resting, I'm cutting the dough into pieces and shaping them into balls, getting it ready for ravioli sheets, using semolina and flour to make it easier. So, I've got my first dough ball in the machine, and it's starting to stretch out nicely. As it rolls out, I dust it lightly with my flour semolina mix, just enough so it doesn't stick. The trick is making sure no flour stays on the surface. That way, the sheet stays soft and silky. And here it is, my very first pasta sheet, all ready for ravioli. Now I place the pasta sheet onto the ravioli mold. With a spoon, I add the cheese filling, and as I turn the handle, the machine seals it neatly between the two layers of dough. Perfect little pockets, ready to cut. And then I lay the ravioli sheet on the counter, and with the wheel I press and slice, sealing each edge so the filling stays inside. Let's think a bit. How many ravioli have been cut in the world so far? A striking question that seems unnecessary. The number of ravioli ever made has probably reached several tens of billions, since this dish does not actually have a very ancient history. The earliest written references to ravioli date back to the 14th century. Considering that, in the Middle Ages and earlier, people couldn't cultivate or produce food as freely as they wished, supply chains were far less developed, and cultural exchange was much slower than today. It's clear that ravioli took some time to spread. In fact, it was mainly during the Renaissance that this dish began to travel across different parts of Europe. Now we're starting to boil them in water as salty as the Mediterranean. That salt seasons the pasta from the inside out, and once the bubbles rise, in go the ravioli. All right, let's move on to our bechamel sauce. We start with butter and flour. Once the flour is nicely toasted and gives off that nutty aroma, we slowly add the milk and start whisking. In French cuisine, this sauce is actually considered one of the mother sauces, the foundation for many other classics. Now I'm adding 2 spoonfuls of pesto. This one's extra special. I made it with fresh basil I grew in my garden all summer long. I'll actually make a separate video just for this pesto, so stay tuned. Before mixing in our ravioli, I am adding a bit of this Mediterranean water as usual. This way, the sauce can settle and infuse one last time before everything comes together. Let's move the ravioli into our sauce. They're just shy of al dente, so I let them cook a little more together with the sauce to soak up all that flavor. White pepper, nutmeg, and of course Parmesan. Look at it, the pasta, the sauce, the flavors. It's all one beautiful harmony now. Here we go, ravioli straight to the plate. And now, let's finish with some Parmesan on top. This is exactly the flavor I had imagined. Biting into this ravioli. Wow, the filling is so delicate, and the sauce just wraps around it perfectly. And with that, we're closing the kitchen for today. Remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, buon appetito!